Halimat Olaniyan. I'm a first-year medical student at the University of Cincinnati College of Medicine, and I'm so excited to partner with Root Strong on their STEM literacy project and tell you a bit about my passion and why I chose medicine. So I was born with sickle cell anemia, which is an inherited genetic disorder. Basically, it's passed down from one generation to the next. So if your parents have it, then you'll have it, and then you'll give it to your kids, and so on and so forth. We won't really get into that. But the really interesting thing about me is that even though you are born with the disease, when I was born in Nigeria, no one knew that I had sickle cell. And I guess I didn't show any signs of having it until way later. So when I was 4, we moved to America. We lived in Atlanta, Georgia for a couple years, pretty warm there too. And then when I was about 7, we moved to Michigan, and that was when I had my first sickle cell crisis, which is what a pain episode is called. So backing up, when you have sickle cell, well, normally your blood cells are circular. So your blood vessels, your arteries, and your veins are also circular, so they can really easily pass through. Your blood cells can really easily pass through the arteries and veins and your blood vessels in your body. And then when they bump into each other, because they're circular, it's like two bouncy balls hitting each other, and they just move on. But when you have sickle cell, instead of having circular blood cells, now your blood cells are C-shaped or crescents or half moons, whatever you want to call them. So when they bump into each other, instead of just gliding past each other, they actually hook onto each other. And if enough hook onto each other, this can cause a clot to form, and then you lose blood flow to that part of your body. So let's say, normally you've got blood flow going into your wrist, and so that means your wrist is getting, because your blood carries oxygen and nutrients, it's getting all the stuff that it needs. But when you have a clot formed, now blood can't flow through your wrist. So you're not getting those nutrients, you're not getting the oxygen or other nutrients that you need for your wrist. And that can cause a lot of pain, which is the main symptom of sickle cell disease. So my first pain crisis was when I was 7, and it was in my back, I believe. Starting to forget. I think it was my back. And I didn't know I had the disease, no one knew. So I just was in a lot of pain. I went to the nurse, and just like any other kid, they called my parent. But it was an unreal amount of pain, indescribable for me as a child. I could not describe the pain that I was feeling other than screaming and crying. And so lots of doctor visits, and ER later, I was told that I had sickle cell disease. So I'm still really interested in what it was that made me not have my first episode until I was 7. Because for most people, most sickle cell patients have their first episodes when they're 6 months old. So I wonder if it was because there are different triggers for pain episodes, and one of them is extreme weather changes, and that is all that Michigan does, is extreme weather. So maybe it was because the weather in Africa and Atlanta just were more kind, I guess, to my body, so I didn't really have any need, or my body didn't feel enough pressure or stress, we'll call it, to trigger an episode. So yeah, what triggers sickle cell? We talked about extreme weather changes. So for instance, jumping from a cold pool into a cold pool and then back to the hot sun is kind of dangerous for me. Or even going from really strong air conditioning inside to the hot air outside, or trick-or-treating and being really cold for hours, going from door to door. Just little things like that I have to be more cautious about. Even energy, I can't let my body get too tired or too stressed. I have to stay really hydrated. I have to really be aware when I'm pushing myself too hard and when I'm putting a lot of stress on myself, because that can make me sick. So I think I've just gained an appreciation for pain and health and wellness that a lot of people don't get. And so that's part of the reason why I want to be a doctor. But I think the main reason why is because when I was growing up, I didn't have a positive example, a positive story of anyone with sickle cell succeeding. I was constantly told what I could not do, could not be because of my disease, and I hated that. Don't tell me what to do. I'm kidding. But seriously, the more people told me that I couldn't do something, the more I was oh, I'm going to do this. You know, I of course can do this because I want to do this. So I just became really determined to be for future sickle cell patients what I did not have, to be that positive role model, to show them that if you want something, nothing, no one except yourself can stop you. And again, I have been really blessed. I don't get sick as often. My crises haven't been as bad as others now that I've worked with other sickle cell patients and I've seen other stories. Because growing up, again, I didn't really know anyone else that had my disease until like probably college, when I started volunteering with other sickle cell patients. So yeah, I just think that I have been placed in a really unique situation to have this disease, to have a milder form of the disease, and the skill and love of science and understanding of, you know, the societal aspects that contribute to my disease. Like, for instance, there's this myth that sickle cell only affects Black people. And I think that has had a huge play in the resources and attention the disease gets. Like, a lot of people have never heard of sickle cell disease besides their biology class. And even though it's the number one, like, most common genetically inherited disorder in the United States, that means that more people in the U.S. are born with sickle cell disease than they are born with any other disease. Which is wild to me that that could be the case, and yet still no one knows or gives it enough attention. And I think there's a lot of bias and stigma against the disease that I'm also really passionate about fighting. I want to be a doctor because as a child, I didn't have someone to look up to that was like me, that also had this disease. So I want to be that someone for the future generation, the future little girl or boy or whoever growing up right now with this disease, to let them know, like, hey, this does not define you. I mean, it will shape part of your life for sure, but it does not have to stop you from doing anything that you want to do. That's really it. I'm so excited to continue my journey into medicine, and I'm really honored to be a part of this project. So thank you, Root Strong.